After helping to deliver Britain's first land victory of World War II and bringing the conflict in North Africa to an end, the 4th Indian Infantry Division swept across the Mediterranean and took part in the first invasion of a European homeland of an Axis power.
My grandfather took part in one of the bloodiest battles, which was the Battle of Monte Cassino in Italy, which was from the winter of 1943 to June of 1944. And there were, several Allied attacks, and 55,000 soldiers perished. But some of the memories that really stuck with him were just losing people close to him that he had been speaking to 2 seconds before. So there's a story where they were just doing their regular job like sappers. They were, clearing mines or putting down protective mines or building suspension bridges, building roads to, capture Monte Cassino to get to Rome to meet with the other Allied forces. The cook was making them tea, and the smoke from the tea, I guess, gave him away. And all of a sudden, there was heavy shelling, and somebody that you were talking to was gone just like that. My grandfather said there was 15 people who were gone just like that. A shell landed next to my grandfather, and it didn't detonate, and that's the only reason that I'm here today, sharing this story.
The Allies ultimately entered Rome in June 1944, but not without great cost along the way. The British cemetery at Cassino contains more than 4,000 graves of British, South African, New Zealand, Canadian, and Indian dead.
You know what? When you read these books written by authority writers like William L. Shirer, Liddell Hart, and you go through the index of these books, you won't find the word SIKH written anywhere in the index of this book. The entire history of the Sikhs who fought so valiantly in the World War II has been completely obliterated by the victors of the World War. And while the victors have forgotten the Sikhs, the losers still remember them. That's the strange irony of the story.
By the end of the Second World War, the Red Eagles had taken 150,000 prisoners and had been decorated with over 1,000 gallantry awards.
So these books on World War II history, I was going through them and they reminded me of an anecdote from May 1999. I was on an official tour to Italy to a major international trade fair in Carrara. We were doing the rounds of the trade fair in the morning, me and my colleague Mukul, visiting the booth of a major machinery manufacturer. And after conducting the official business, starting chatting with the Italian gentleman, he said, Sikhs are the bravest people in the world. He said, my grandfather told me. My grandfather, he said, fought in Mussolini's army in World War II, in the East Africa chapter. And he and the Hitler's forces of Rommel were, winning everything in North Africa and East North Africa, the entire Mediterranean rim. And then he said, these Britishers, they've sent the ferocious looking soldiers from India, the war cry which would make us tremble when they shouted and came to war. And in battle, when they fought initially with cannons and with guns, and when their bullets and their shells ended, they fought with bayonets and knives, and when their bayonets and knives were out of their hands, they fought with bare claws like animals, got all animated. And he said, my grandfather told me, my friend, they were the bravest people I have ever seen in life. And so, when the Sikhs came, they started losing the war, the Italians and the Germans. And well, pretty soon, he said, my grandfather was a prisoner of war of the Sikhs. And these ferocious looking animals, he said, when my grandfather was a prisoner of these people, and these people had limited water, limited food, they themselves went hungry to sleep, but they ensured that their prisoners were never hungry, never thirsty. Like saints, he said, animals on the field and saints out of the field.
If it wasn't for his faith, and his faith was absolutely unshakable. In fact, I think the war strengthened his faith. He always kept a copy of the Guru Granth Sahib in his backpack, and he feels like he was protected by that. There was a tent where they kept the Guru Granth Sahib, and a shell had landed in that tent, and it didn't detonate. And, maybe it was jammed, maybe it was a faulty shell, but for him and his other fellow Sikh soldiers, that was just so powerful for them in one of history's darkest moments, helped them get through that war, that battle where so many people were lost. If we know where we came from and we know what we've been through, we can use that as guidance as to what we can become. Because we come from a place of strength. We come from a place where fighting injustice is just the foundation of the religion. And that's just so powerful. And when these narratives are lost, they are just lost to time. Like there's an African proverb that says, when an old man dies, a library burns to the ground. And if we don't keep these stories, we'll just lose them.
Over the course of 2 world wars, hundreds of thousands of turban-wearing Sikh soldiers of the British Indian Army served alongside Canadian troops under a common flag in allegiance to the Crown. They upheld the responsibilities of British citizenship and fought as brothers in arms in defense of our freedoms.